Hello, welcome to the Facebook Live. I'm not sure if anyone can notice, but we've really stepped up in the world here. There's a lot going on. We've obviously got, Phil has gone on annual leave and temporarily come back to a very professional system, I must say. I'm pretty impressed with myself.
You're welcome.
Yeah. But thank you for joining. We had the garden EDM go out this morning, which is awesome. I'm not sure who that comment's from, but anyway, we'll keep going. We won't put that on the screen. But yeah, thank you for joining us today. The garden EDM went out this morning. So we had a few offers in there. Obviously, indoor plants is a massive thing right now. So we've got some beautiful plants here that Phil has kindly selected from the store. We've got some ways in how you can help those grow. And we have a lot of pots in the EDM as well. So massive range in store at the moment. We have new pots in about 6 different colors that have just come in with about 4 or 5 different styles as well, which is awesome. So there's a lot going on, which is great because it's so cold outside.
It's freezing. So I guess, indoor plants is perfect for what we're going to talk about tonight.
Yeah. So should we get into it? If anyone leaves a comment, Phil will answer them at the end. And yeah. We do. Oh. Sorry about that. Slight technical difficulty. I hope you can still hear us. We're just testing it at the moment. Okay, perfect. Yep. Awesome. So some of the things we went through in the blog was we spoke about a seaweed-based foliar spray. And then we have this indoor spray as well, which I do use, which I'm not sure whether I'm applying it enough. If anyone who watches these regularly knows that I'm not very good at looking after plants. But, take us through what should we be using on these indoor plants at the moment?
Yeah, definitely anything liquid-based is perfect to use. And in terms of frequency, like if you're using them, every 2 weeks, every 3 weeks, then that's probably enough. You can still...
That's what I'm doing, so I'm doing it right. Yay! That's so exciting.
So like you say, we've got the seaweed one. Cecil, I guess, is probably the best known one on the market. Mm-hmm. We carry a couple of other varieties. We also carry the Monash spray, which has got a lot of mineral-based elements to it. So in terms of just the health of the leaf and things like that, I mean, ideal products to use at the moment.
Okay, and then how do you apply this one? Do you need to water it down?
So this is definitely concentrate.
Okay, so I'll lift it up because it's behind the banner.
So that one, you can make it different concentrations. You can use it to water into the roots. Mm-hmm. You can make it into a spray over the foliage. Cool. I guess the only downside to it is that you probably want to take your plants outside. It will smell a little bit for a while. So
how long's a while? Like a few hours? Or
a couple of hours. Okay. So put it on, let it sort of sink in.
Okay.
Maybe give it a wash before you bring the plants in, just so it doesn't have that sort of ocean smell to it.
Yeah, cool, awesome. And then after that, we spoke about the best indoor plants at the moment as well. So what have we got here in front of us?
Well, this is just a small sample of what we've got in store. So at the moment, we've been advertising a lot of the spathiphyllums or peace lilies. Mm-hmm. So we've got 3 different sizes here just to show sort of different stages. The the one at the front and the one at the back are the same piece lily. The one to the side here is a variegated form. I'm not sure if it will come through well on the screen, but you can definitely see it's got sort of a white hue to the leaf, which is definitely different to the sort of the standard varieties, which have a nice dark green leaf.
Are they a little bit shiny, or did I imagine that? These? No?
Yeah, I mean, spats are generally pretty shiny. You know, you can increase the shine on it by giving a wipe with a damp sponge.
Okay.
You can also apply like an aerosol-based white oil to try and improve the leaf. Yeah. But just don't overdo that. You know.
How bad is dust for indoor plants?
I don't know that it's that bad, but I mean, if it's getting that dusty, I'd say that there's probably other problems. You know, maybe it's not getting out enough for some.
I mean, I wouldn't say mine's extremely dusty. It's just got a nice layer of dust because I don't touch it very often.
Oh. Yeah, well, I don't think. I mean, as long as the leaves aren't looking like yellow or dropping off or anything like that.
No. I don't know how it's still growing. To be honest with you, I'm not sure how it's still alive.
Luck.
But it's there. And it looks pretty good.
So that's the spathiphyllums and
cool.
detailed idea of what's going on in your place. We've also got Zanzibar Gem. This is a new variety of Zanzibar Gem at the front here called Black Warrior. The normal Zanzibar Gems or ZZ plants that you'd see around usually have green leaves. This one, as you can probably see, is quite black in its leaf.
We had that one in the EDM actually, which was quite black.
Yeah, so I mean, it can sometimes generate sort of green leaves if it's not in the right spot in the house. Somewhere that's, it doesn't have to be very well lit. So I guess a bedroom or somewhere like that is probably a good spot for it. And I guess with it, it's probably one of the hardest plants I know of. You'd only have to water it maybe 4 or 5 times a year.
Yeah, cool.
Anything more than that, you risk killing it through too much water. Yeah. You tend to block the roots off them.
Right.
So that's the Zanzibar Gem. We've also got one called a Fatsia. This one's called Spiderwebs. We brought this one in for the winter time. It thrives through the colder months. So yeah, I mean, you don't see it very often. We've sort of advertised it as a sort of a re-release of an old plant. Like I say, for the colder areas, Adelaide, Melbourne, it's a perfect plant to have in and around a patio. We'd also put it into things like bathrooms and stuff like that, laundries.
Yes, that was one of my questions. Where could these plants be in the house? Like, are they mostly ideal for bathrooms or really?
Well, things like this, the spathiphyllums are probably almost anywhere really.
Do they need a window, like some type of light?
They'd need, I mean, if you see them in store, I mean, they won't be in a window, but they'll certainly be in a lightish spot. Yeah. But they can take reasonable shade. So I guess if you think of it being in a hallway, that wouldn't be a bad spot for it. I guess the other trick that you can do with a lot of these indoor plants is that if you've got a tricky spot in the house and you do definitely want to put live plants into it, think about buying 2 or 3 different plants and then rotate them in and around those spots. That way, sort of you're looking after the plant for a shorter period of time, and it'll just add some variety to it.
And sort of without much effort too. Like if you're just moving them around, you still have plants around the house.
Absolutely, and you'll have better areas in the house for some plants than others, and you can just move them around so that they'll each get a sort of a window of opportunity in those spots.
Yeah, right. Nice.
Yep.
Okay, cool. So that's the indoor plants and how to treat them, I guess, covered.
Sure. Yep.
If we're looking at planning ahead, that was sort of the last point that we covered in the blog, was whether you look at doing like a vegetable garden. So not something to do right now, but to think sort of ahead once we're sort of into the spring and get that little bit of warmer weather. Yeah. There was vegetable gardens, some raised garden beds. What else have we got here? Fruit trees. What would you be recommending to someone who wants to plan ahead right now?
Look, I mean, we're already in the throes of planning for spring ourselves. So I guess if you were looking for in the garden, you'd definitely be planning for your spring vegetable garden. So depending on, I guess, where you're at in terms of your winter crop, if you're coming towards the end of it, then you'd be looking to remove any of the older plants. Turning the soil is probably the perfect time to be adding things like composts, worm castings. You can use things like your sea salt to add bacteria back into the soil, just getting it ready to plant up.
Yeah.
So, like you say, it's probably the best time to be thinking about preparation in the garden, because I guess we're only 4 or 5 weeks away from seeing that sort of changeover in plants.
Yeah.
If you're thinking of just flowers and seedlings, the juniors won't be that far away. So if you're looking to put them into pots, it's a good idea to either start turning the old potting soil in the pots over and adding some fresh, or potentially just emptying the old stuff out and replacing it.
Just start again.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Good tips. And then another one we spoke about was mulching, which I conveniently forgot that we spoke about so much in our June Facebook
when Sam was here last month.
When Sam was here from Runnings, which we do thank Sam for coming. That's
Absolutely.
fine. That was awesome. So Sam was recommending mulch now. Is that right? And you were saying hold off?
There's two thought processes for mulching at this time of the year. So, and look, you can't say that either is right or wrong. And that's the beauty about gardening. There's always, different ideas for, to get to the same end result. So Sam's idea was to get some mulch onto the soil. It helps to suppress weeds that might be coming through, which is true.
Yeah.
From his experience, it also helps to insulate the soil, so keep it in some warmth. From where I've been brought up in terms of planting, it's more about sort of letting the natural soil come to the surface and breathing.
Yes.
At some point, you can look after the soil. Digging these sorts of products, composts, and letting your mulches break down and improve the soil is great.
Yeah.
But at some point, the soil just needs time to breathe. If you haven't mulched by now, and you're thinking about it, with all the cold weather that we're having, the soil would be cold now. So you'd only be insulating it from warming up earlier in springtime. So by letting the mulch break down and the soil come to the surface, when we have that break in the season, so when we start to see that spring weather coming, any warmth that we can get will start to warm the soil up. So will help to kickstart growth. So if you've got your mulch on and it's too thick, just think of it that the sun has to warm that mulch before it can warm the soil, before the plants can grow. So it just adds that sort of extra, potentially a couple of weeks before you start to see the plants take off.
So it's a little late now.
I would think so. I think you've probably missed your window for mulching, really.
Okay. Yeah. And then what would, if you've missed your window, then what can you do?
So from it's back to that prep stage. So digging some compost in, getting the soil ready to plant out.
Getting ready for spring.
Depending on the compost that you use, a lot of the bag products that we carry here are pretty well broken down. So there's no risk in sort of digging them into the soil. Whereas if you're getting fresh stuff delivered from one of those companies that will sort of drop it off for you, sometimes you'll see it come off the truck and it's steaming, which means there's still heat in it. So there can be a risk in terms of planting straight into that. So now's the great time to do that, get it into the soil, let that break down further, reduce the heat so that when you are ready to plant your new season stuff, you're not going to sort of risk damaging it.
Clever, Phil. You would have thought. Horticulturalist. Good. And then another couple of things we're going to cover was pruning and weeding. Great time of year to do it. Agreed?
Yeah, we agree on this one. Yeah, right now is the time to start getting into rose pruning for sure. I was talking to someone earlier, Chris, in fact, from St. Mary's.
Hey,
I was talking to Chris earlier in the day, and we were talking about rose pruning. It's absolutely the perfect time to do it. By now, most of your roses should have lost their leaves. So, give them the hardest prune back that you can. If you have a couple of roses that are stubbornly not losing their leaves, just strip them off when you do your pruning, just to make sure that you sort of start with nice clean rows. After you've done the pruning, then you can look to spray it with something like an oil or a copper spray or lime sulfur, just to make sure that there's no fungal spores left over for next spring.
Yeah.
So rose pruning, absolutely. Fruit trees, you can get stuck into fruit trees as well. A lot of the deciduous ones, it's time to prune. So things like apples and peaches, nectarines, you can do all the pruning on those as well. Probably hold off on things like citrus until springtime.
Okay, and then the pruning for those, should that be done by the start of August, or could you do that midway through August with a couple of weeks ready for spring?
For the deciduous stuff?
Yes, and for your roses and everything.
Yeah, generally July is probably the month to get it done, but only because you're just not sure when the spring weather's going to start. So you don't want to sort of leave it too late into August, just in case for whatever reason spring starts early.
I hope so. It's so cold.
Yeah, it's freezing.
So cold. And then lastly, what we were going to cover was veggie patches. A lot of people are looking at doing those at the moment. I think a lot of people think when you're coming into winter, or me anyway, maybe it's not the best time to plant veggies, just because you think it's all so cold and no one really wants to be outside either. Me. Yeah. But I did a bit of research because I like to come prepared to these Facebook lives, and what I found that there isn't much happening right now, but you could start thinking about planting your lettuce, celery, broad beans, potato, garlic, radish, and spinach. Is that accurate?
Absolutely. I mean,
I was going to say Google lied to me if that's not accurate. Now I look silly because I looked that up.
But there's more. I mean, that's a good list, but you've missed things like broccoli, potatoes. You could get
potatoes.
Well, you did put potatoes. I didn't see
gracious.
That. Asparagus, strawberry runners, cabbages is
not there.
So there's a whole lot of stuff that you could still plant. So it's a completely different sort of planting, and the veggies do take longer, I guess, to establish for the winter time.
Yeah.
So there's plenty to be done in a winter vegetable garden, and we're seeing that, I guess, with the price of vegetables and that at the moment. Like we're having trouble keeping up with supply. Yeah, I mean, especially things like lettuce and stuff.
And is it better looking at putting those in like a raised garden bed, or just you just put them straight into the soil?
We find heaps of people putting into the raised garden beds because the soil around here is not particularly good. I guess other people don't like to bend down too far, so the garden beds help to raise it up.
Yeah.
I guess what we have seen, and I was out in my yard last night, pinging the snails across into the creek on the other side of the road. So there's plenty of snails and plenty of slugs around. So if you do decide that you want to get into a winter vegetable patch, just make sure that you do put some protection down to make sure that none of those get it. Snails and slugs probably, take out your veggie patch in a couple of nights. So.
And then I was just thinking as you were talking, with the raised garden bed, are you in control more with that soil if you're doing it in a raised garden bed compared to the ground? Like, is there any more controls that you have, like whether that's the temperature or the quality or?
Probably not so much in the winter time, but there is something to be said that you're in control of the temperature a bit more because it's a confined spot, so it tends to warm up or cool down quicker. Yeah. You are in control of the soil that you put into a raised garden bed, so you can make sure that it's going to drain properly. And generally you're using sort of a better quality of mixture for it. So in terms of the plants being able to get the right food, the right watering. So I'd say you are probably in control more. Yeah.
Good thought, Annabelle. So put that back to myself. I'll take that. All right, it's awesome. So that's everything the blog covered. We had a few extra things in there as well. So any questions that you might have, now's the time to put them in the comments. I know that we have one here, which is she has a mini rubber tree in a little pot and the leaves have started to brown at the tips. Does this mean I should upsize my pot or is it something else? Thank you for your question.
Yeah, I would think that putting up would be the best start. Branding on the tips, to me, suggests probably some sort of a watering problem. Now, it's hard to distinguish with just brown tips if it's overwatering or underwatering. Rubber trees have a huge root system. They will fill up virtually any pot that you put it into. I guess it depends on how long it's been in the pot for. Generally, what I do if someone brought a leaf like that into me into the garden centre, the first thing I would do is sort of feel the leaf. If the tip is brown and it crumbles in your fingers, I'd suggest it's probably dried out because there's no moisture in the dead part. If it's brown and it's still supple and it sort of just moves in your fingers, generally you've sort of caught it at the point where it's just getting a bit too wet.
Yeah.
So they're the things that I'd look at. But I think potting it up is probably the best start.
Yeah, cool. And then lastly, we'll finish with a comment from Helen, which isn't really a question, but I guess more of a comment to make and with your thoughts on it.
Rubber plants are vigorous trees in Queensland. They get really huge and the roots are aggressive. Yeah, spot on, absolutely. Yeah. I don't know that I would ever suggest anyone plant one in the garden. Certainly nowhere near your house. I've seen some horrific incidences where a rubber tree in, say, 10 years would start to damage foundations of houses.
Really?
Yeah. They're pretty horrible. I mean, lovely trees, but pretty horrible to have next to your house for sure.
Yeah, okay. Right. Well, thank you everyone for joining. We've got a nice thank you field comment from a lovely watcher or viewer today, which is lovely. Thank you everyone. We will be back doing this again in August. So there'll be a blog coming out then and the email that will come out. If you are subscribed to our Garden Club, if you are not subscribed to our Garden Club, please visit our website and look for the register button at the top of the screen. You can sign up, we'll give you a membership card, and then you'll get notified when these lives happen every single month, along with a range of offers from our garden team, which is awesome, and a blog. So look at that. All those rewards for not much.
Yeah, just
and
here
you go.
Yep.
Every $100 you spend, you get a $5 voucher.
Wow.
Yep. And you'll get notified about all of our sales that we do. We do a couple of sales a year. So we had a big one in April, and we might be having one soon. Who knows?
Who knows?
Not me.
Not me.
Not me. Okay, thanks for joining, guys. We will see you next time in August. Enjoy the garden.